but we can't get started until. All right, on-time drawing.
I'm happy before my time.
Rule number 6.
Me too.
All right, so what are
I
we?
haven't heard anything.
You'll be number 1.
What?
1, 6. Told you to sign. All right. Look what we're giving away. Ooh. Big mug, mouse pad, and a pen. And the winner is number 3, Rhoda. All right. Next up. Everybody, pull out your phones. Take a picture. Or take a selfie. Or don't take anything, but check in on Facebook. All right. What else? All right, so not on the agenda, we have Larry Perna with Bridge Home Inspections. Come on, talk to us.
Hello, I'm your non-agenda item for today. Make it really quick.
But very, very welcome.
Thank you. And just make sure you don't touch the table either because it shakes.
So, I can tell you a little bit about my company. I started it here back in 2010 when there was no houses being sold. I used to do foreclosure services. If anyone remembers what those are. So I had a house, I had a company that cleaned houses, cut grass. We boarded up windows. And then we presented the house to the listing agent. Back then, Fannie Mae would choose who the listing agents were. Fannie Mae was kingmakers, and there was 10 or 12 appointed agents, and then they sold a lot of the repo houses. So that's all there was, lots of repos. I did 7,000 of them. Each one of them had to have a little inspection and photographs. And then that market started to dry up. People started buying houses again in 2011. So I got another license. I had other licenses at the time. I got a home inspector license. And I did 2 home inspections the first month. And then I did 6, and then I did 12, and then I did 50, and then I did 100. And then I hired more people, and then my son got trained. He's done thousands since. And so far, to date, we've done 28,000 homes here in Las Vegas. Thank you. So we have the largest home inspection company in Nevada. I'm the president of the Association of Home Inspectors. I'm also what's called a master inspector, so I can inspect any size building. And I've done some really big buildings. The old Harley-Davidson Cafe in Las Vegas Boulevard. Hundreds of thousands of square feet of office buildings just like this. Restaurants, 20,000 square foot single-family residences. Big stuff. So we have a dozen trained home inspectors here in Las Vegas. And we're always available. We do 15 to 20 houses a day. And our motto is, the glass is half full. It's not half empty. Right. Anything can be fixed, right? Transactions need to happen. You guys have to overcome so many hurdles in your transaction. The home inspection shouldn't be an artificial one. So we know that, we understand that. Things can be worded and phrased in such a way to not be alarming. That's
What was the word?
What's the turnaround time on your reports?
the next day.
The next day.
I don't like them to be done on site because I think they're hastily done sometimes. I like the
The
guys.
next day's good.
Yeah, 24 hours. We have people that actually answer the phone. I have a really easy phone number, if you haven't seen it, 722-2222. I make it easy to get in touch with us. They pay online, LasVegasHomeInspections.com. I have that URL. And we just opened up in Salt Lake City. So I had a fellow who was my #1 guy here last year. He did like 450 home inspections for me last year. And he said, I want to move back home to Sandy, Utah. So I was at one of your offices there 2 weeks ago. It's beautiful, but it's not as beautiful as this. I really did the vibe here. It's gorgeous. It's the best real estate office I've ever seen. So well done on that. Last time I was here, it was just a regular old office a couple of years ago. So good job.
What did you say? Sorry, the word not customary. What was the word?
The word for you was typical
Just say
stucco
that to them,
cracks.
because that means.
She asked me about stucco cracks in a house, and I said, some home inspectors might try to overemphasize any problem, but it's specifically stucco cracks. You know how often it comes up.
You don't make
All
it.
stucco cracks, right? The closer you look, the more you're gonna find.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the rules of thumb, this is not science or anything, but if you could put a quarter in there, it's probably gonna get mentioned. If it's thinner than that, if it's a hairline crack like the ones that she was showing me, they were pretty thin. Typical, use the word. It's typical. You go to a new home orientation, the guy's gonna tell the new home buyer that, hey, your home's gonna crack. What? Oh yeah, it's gonna crack. So he's setting the expectations. So the word for the day is typical. Same thing with roof tiles. Somebody hears that they have 3 cracked roof tiles and they go off the deep end. You're like, no, every home has 3 cracked roof tiles, right? You just need a service call if you even want it addressed. Anyway, I'm available. You can call me. My cell phone number's on there. The office number's on there. We always answer the phone. And I know you have a lot of work to do, so I'm going to let you get on with it. Thank you.
So the word of the day is typical. However, we're not a typical real estate company. They're not typical home inspectors either. So we're not typical. All right. So Rev Up. We have Rev Up classes coming up every Wednesday at 1, every Friday at 9 a.m. Check the calendars. Happy hour, we normally do a happy hour every last Friday of the month. However, this should say cancel. We're having to cancel this happy hour because we have our one day coming up on the same day. April 29th is our one day. We're helping out, we're feeding the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth. I think we still need a couple, 3 more volunteers. I think there's like 15 to 20 altogether. We still could use a couple more volunteers. So if you want to volunteer, reach out to Nicole.
Has the menu been selected?
Reach out to Nicole. Baseball game is tonight. This is a reminder. If you haven't bought tickets, you're out of luck. You're out of here. But it's a reminder for those of you that have bought tickets tonight. The game starts at 7.
Gates open at 6.
Gates open at 6. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be there. Time for our weekly reminder about Remind. So transaction desk is going. However, should I? Yeah, you probably should. However, for those of us that don't like Remind, we're working on getting all the documents into SkySlope. So we'll only be using SkySlope, and that way you don't have to use transaction desk, then SkySlope, or Remind, then SkySlope.
Can you get
SkySlope.
digital signatures off of SkySlope?
Yes.
So, SkySlope as your transaction.
We're probably 90% there, so yeah, be on the lookout for that. But you know what? Again, we're gonna have to learn something different. But yeah,
You already know
yeah.
SkySlope is better.
Yeah, so we're already familiar with SkySlope, so you happy?
Very.
There's a hater right there. There's a hater. All right, this is LVR is having a shred-a-thon coming up May 1st in the LVR parking lot. So if you're like a lot of us and have boxes and boxes of documents that need to be shredded, don't bring them in here. Bring them to LVR May 1st from 9 to 1:30.
May 21st.
May 21st. 21st. May 21st. All right, next week's meeting is mold. Let's learn about mold. You know, we're learning about water today. Next week we'll, and Dennis Whitaker was, I've known Dennis for, you guys know Dennis? Of course. I've known Dennis for years and years and years. He used to be a home inspector. Now he's a mold inspector, so he's going to talk about the black substance commonly referred to as mold. All right, Tony! Welcome.
happy to be
Sure.
here.
Just kidding.
Thank you. So, I've been trying to email you guys to let you know that as of April 1st, we have new plans. So, I don't know how many of you read the emails, but I swear, I'm the only rep right now. They hired somebody that was hired Monday, but this is the kind of job that you just jump in. So she has to be trained, and so it's gonna be just me for a while.
And
So-
she'll never be as good as you.
well, you're so sweet, but she's, comes from mortgage, so she has a background at least in the business, so she will, you guys will probably meet her. I have no idea how they're gonna divide up offices. So right now, it's just me, so bear with me when you call and give me a chance to give you a call back. Please leave messages, yes?
I have a question. I see the trade call is 85, but if someone had started their policy, let's say 6 months ago, is it still that
75.
old rate?
Until they renew, yeah. So the major changes with this that are so fabulous are the Shield Complete now covers roof, for roof leaks, it's included. It includes the rekey. So what a great thing that's just totally included. It covers $7,000 limit on each appliance. So people have high-end appliances, which everything's high-end anymore. I'm trying to replace mine. I mean, everything. If you can find one, first of all. If you can find a refrigerator to buy, because they're all on back order. So, and then it's $1,250 limit for codes and modifications. So when you get that water heater replaced and they have to do a TMP line, and you're gonna be covered now for up to $1,250. And of course, the unlimited refrigerant. So, Freon is still out there. As long as it's still available, they're gonna keep using it. So it's still there, and it's very pricey. So I know it seems like out of pocket. This is a 1-year policy, folks. It's not like they have to keep it after a year. It's for 1 year, because you don't know what's really happening in a home, even though it's beautiful. Those beautiful ones are the tricky ones. Because when they have all the beautiful paint and chlorine and everything, people go, oh! A lot of times those are the ones that have the most problems, because they haven't looked at plumbing, they haven't looked at the AC. So protect yourself and your homeowner. Protect you, because they're gonna come after you. They just wanna come after somebody when they're upset, and they're gonna come after you. So protect yourself, so at least you have a middleman with the warranty. And if you don't use me, use someone. My biggest competition is not Old Republic, it's no warranty. So protect yourself. I know times are really crazy and you're getting those offers in quick and you forget, but protect yourself. Protect yourself and get a warranty on there, just so they have somebody to call besides you. So thank you for all your support.
Awesome.
Yes?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, thank you guys.
Absolutely. All right. Shawnee, got anything to say about the mortgage? What is going on?
Rates are going down, right?
I have some exciting news. If you can get a good pre-approval, we can lock the rate till you find them a house. So lock and shop, that's the new option that we have. If you need more information, come and meet me, okay?
How long does that
We have 90-day term and 30 and 45-day lock. So I will give you details once you come and meet me in the office, okay?
Felicia,
Hello, good morning.
she's introducing somebody, and Felicia brought the donuts. Keto-friendly donuts.
Okay, so I know we have a lot of new faces in the room, but for those that have been here a while, who knows this face?
I remember him.
We want to help me welcome back home to Rock Title, Brad Morang. We're super excited to have him back, Brad. Escrow Officer, Southwest Office for you guys.
Yep. So I'm a 20-year veteran of the industry, so there's not a whole lot I haven't seen or done. I've done pretty much every escrow except for maybe commercial. I was with Realty One Group in 2014. I left in 2019 to see if the grass is greener on the other side, and It's not.
It never is.
It's actually kind of brutal out there. I started working for Homey Title for a little while. You guys heard of Homey?
Oh, yeah.
They let 120 of us go on one phone call.
Nice.
One Zoom call. So yeah, it gets brutal out there. So
You have more grass
Yeah, I
than
know.
before, though.
If you want, I'll shave it for you.
We have no cards yet, but
Oh, yeah.
soon, and we'll put them up at the front. How can they reach you?
Just call my cell phone. Call my cell phone. For right now, you can give me your card and I'll send you my contact information. I'm gonna try and be here a couple days a week just to make myself more accessible to you guys, get to know everybody that I don't know. But as soon as I have cards, I'll of course put them up front. But I'm looking forward to meeting everybody.
And if anybody has a team and they want a special class for their team, reach out to us and we'll schedule maybe a prelim reading or anything that's just based for your team. Let's see what else. You're gonna have business cards, any flyers. Do you have any flyers yet?
I have to finish my bio first.
Okay.
I'm behind.
Or you guys can reach out to me and I'll get you connected to Brad. But he's in the Southwest office, so super excited over with our gang in the new office over here on Russell. Today at 1 o'clock is the Google business page with Justin Taylor. He's gonna set you up on your Google business page. Have you guys heard about the Google Analytics?
No.
Your Google webpage? Okay, we're gonna get you going on that. So RockZoom, do you have a pen sitting right on the wall? RockZoom.com. To get in on these Thursday trainings, you have to register. It's very easy. It's RockZoom.com. It'll ask you to register, okay? And then once we have you guys registered, you should have no problem getting into the Zoom calls at 1 o'clock. I know that there were a couple people that had a problem getting into it. You gotta register. So today, Google Analytics, and that is also a website that you can connect to your main website that you use. So awesome stuff. Any questions?
Brad,
Good to
what's your
see you
last
guys.
name?
Morang. M-O-R-A-N-G.
Thank you.
Super excited to have Brad back.
Awesome. John, let's talk stats.
Today's paper, this is an article that came out of this morning's paper. It says, previous occupied home sale prices slow in March. Sales of previous occupied homes slowed in March to the slowest pace in nearly 2 years as a swift rise in mortgage rates and record high prices discouraged would-be home buyers. So that's coming out now. They're starting to broadcast that all over the place. So you're gonna see things start leveling out. Numbers here, we're down as we've been, but you can see I put average and median price sales up here now, so you can see both. We're still up around 460 on the single family mediums and 556 on the average, and you can see what the condos are doing. Rentals, high, $2,177 compared to $1,792, and new home medium, I put new homes in there too, but right now we have 4,502 listings in the Las Vegas Valley. That's a combination of single family and condos and townhomes, but it's still holding true with this 0.9 months. It hasn't changed, but I think that's gonna change it. That article's gonna start affecting people. It was right in the middle of the paper. You couldn't miss it this morning, so I made a picture of it. I bring it in. So, any questions on the numbers? We'll throw them out there. Nicole broadcast that out there.
Yep, they go on the Facebook group, they're on the back of your agendas.
All right.
So next month will be an indication of if this is the beginning of the end.
Right.
Okay.
No, the beginning of something different.
That's
Or
The beginning of the transition.
Because it doesn't matter. Up here, there's still, homes are selling, there's still money to be made in all
He's
markets.
thinking of remind. That's the beginning of the end. So we have our Las Vegas Water District here to talk today to us. He talked in Green Valley on Tuesday, and he was brilliant, talking about things that nobody thought about, actually. Corey Enos is our speaker today. Corey is a senior public information coordinator for the Southern Nevada Water Authority and the Las Vegas Water District. He joined the organization more than 13 years ago, so he really knows his stuff. Corey is responsible for supervising a team involved with the coordination and implementation of public outreach efforts related to water resources, construction outreach, and utility operations. He's a graduate of the University of Arizona with a bachelor's degree in sociology. I find that really interesting. He has 2 great daughters, enjoys playing and watching all sports and following his daughter's soccer and volleyball teams in his spare time. He was brilliant on Tuesday. I think he's going to be brilliant today. Corey, all yours.
You're all set, ready to go, button, right, Captain, you advance.
So obviously, if I can't figure this out, brilliant is way too big of a word. Regular is a lot more common. Realtors are really ready and up to go in the morning. I'm a calm, sedate person by nature. And the mornings are not my thing, so you guys will have to bear with me if I'm not up to your level. My name's Corey. I work for 3 organizations actually. I work for the Las Vegas Valley Water District, the Southern Nevada Water Authority, and the Springs Reserve. They only give me 1 paycheck, but I'm often asked to go out and speak on behalf of one of those entities. Today, I'm talking to you as a member or representative of the Southern Nevada Water Authority. And like you, one of the things I found is you are talking to people, not only as a representative of Realty One, you guys are also community members. You guys live here. And the questions you get are the same ones I get. I get one of 2 questions every single day. It's either, are we going to run out of water, or when are we going to run out of water? The answer, are we going to run out of water, is no. But it's not absolutely no. It's no if we continue to do the things that got us through the last 20 years. We found that water conservation is an ethic here now in Southern Nevada. We're one of the foremost water conservation places in the country. Other places come to us and look to us and ask, how did you get your community to buy in? And so it's not just no blanket, but no if we continue to do the things that we've done to this point. 7 out of every 10 people in the state of Nevada live here in Southern Nevada. We're responsible for getting water to all of those people. We're responsible for all of our conservation planning, our water supply planning, our water quality. It does no good to have a water source if people aren't confident in that water source. And a very important one is building our infrastructure and then doing it all in an environmentally friendly fashion. Does everybody know where we get our water from here in Southern Nevada?
Colorado River.
Oh, yeah, you guys are good. 90% of our water comes from the Colorado River. The other 10% comes from groundwater wells that are still active here in the valley. Colorado River is divided up into 2 basins, the upper basin and the lower basin that we're a part of. The upper basin, it's 7 states in the country of Mexico. Upper basin is Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and Mexico. The southern basin, of which we're a part of, is Arizona, California, Nevada, and the country of Mexico. This chart that you see right here is how the Colorado River is currently divided up. Everybody see the little yellow piece right there? That's Nevada. That's how much water we get from the Colorado River. It's less than 2% of the water, 1.8% of the water. It's 300,000 acre feet. An acre feet of water is about 326,000 gallons. But it's a very small portion of water that comes from the Colorado River.
Does that mimic the population sizes of?
It does not. What it mimics is, it was divided up in 1922, and it was divided up based on agriculture. Back then, Las Vegas or Nevada was just a little small whistle stop from one place to another. And even now, we don't have any agriculture here in Southern Nevada, except for weed. Yesterday was 420. That's the only agriculture that we have.
We have Gilcrease Farms.
We do.
Very little.
And so one of the misconceptions is when people fly in, coming into Las Vegas, or when they go out to the lake, they see that bathtub ring at Lake Mead, and they see the lake level declining. And naturally their question is, why does Southern Nevada keep growing if you're sucking up all of the water? But we're not sucking up all of the water. We get less than 2% of the water that comes from the Colorado River. So it really isn't us that's sucking up all the water. But what we've discovered is the Colorado River Basin needs to work together as a whole. It's not an us versus them mentality. It's not us versus California or us versus Arizona. If the Colorado River were its own economy, it would be the 7th or 8th largest economy in the world.
Wow.
The majority of the fruits and vegetables, especially the winter fruits and vegetables that we eat here in our country and worldwide, we're on water from the Colorado River. I don't know about you, but I've eaten fruits and vegetables in the past couple of days. Well, not the past couple of days, but last week. And so that water is important to not just us here in Southern Nevada, not just the Southwest, but to the global economy. This is an illustration of how, if we were to withdraw our entire allocation in one day, the Lake Mead level would drop about 3.5 feet. Whereas if California withdrew their entire allocation in one day, 4.4 million acre feet, Lake Mead level would drop 54 feet.
Wow.
70% of the state's population here in Southern Nevada, 70% of the state's economic output here in Southern Nevada, but with that, we only use less than 5% of the state's available water resources.
What does that mean, state's economic output?
What's that?
What does that mean in relation to the water, 70% of the state's economic output?
It means that, again, 7 out of 10 people throughout the entire state live here. We create in Southern Nevada, it's a really big state, space-wise.
Yeah.
But the economy is driven by everything that goes on here in Southern Nevada. Not just Nevada not just us in Southern Nevada benefit from that, but the entire state benefits from that. And even with that, we use less than 5% of the state's available water resources. So what Lake Mead looked like in 1999, you can see the water level. 2004, you can see a stark decline. 2022 looks pretty dire.
I was at the dam when they were letting water go in the 80s because it was over flooding.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was just, it was.
And so really the question is why? Why is that the case? There's a few reasons. One, we're in the midst of the longest sustained drought that we have seen along the history of Colorado. If you don't know anything or anything about anything, you can look at this chart and see that there's a lot more red than there is blue. What the red represents is years that are below average inflows to Lake Mead from the Colorado River. We get ours from snowmelt in the Rockies. So between 2000 and last year, all of the red years are years that are inflows are below average, and the blue years are years that are above average. There's a lot more red on this chart than blue. In 2012, we had a year that was 147% above average, and everybody said the drought is over. What happened after that? The 2 lowest years back to back that we've ever seen along the Colorado River. We don't know whether that's going to improve. What we're finding out is that this may be the new normal. The previous 100 years was a wet 100 years, and what we're experiencing now may be the new normal. As a water agency, we don't have the ability to plan as though we're going to return to that previous 100 years. We only have the ability to plan with what we know, and we continue to try and be proactive as opposed to reactive in doing the things that are necessary for us to secure a water resource for one of the most vibrant economies and cities in the world. It says current Lake Mead elevation 1066. I need to update that because now it's actually below 1060. But yesterday it's about 1057. Last year, this year, we had our first shortage declaration that was ever declared on the Colorado River. I'll show you a little bit about what that means. Everybody hears shortage and they think we're going to have water rations and you're only going to be able to use this amount, but I'll tell you exactly what it means. What it means for us is right now we get 21,000 acre feet less from that 300,000 acre feet that we're allocated. at its maximum, there are specific shortage declarations that go with the lake level. So as lake levels continue to decline, we continue to take less water. But the maximum shortage for us is about 30,000 acre feet of water, meaning that we would have, instead of 300,000, we'd have 270,000 acre feet available to us. That's the bad news. The good news is that last year we only used about 242,000 acre feet, or we only consumed about 242,000 acre feet. So we still have room in between what it is we consume, what it is we would have to do in a shortage, and what it is we have available now. And some of that unused water we store, and we have water banking agreements with the state of Arizona, with the state of California, and we have a water bank here in Nevada, where some of that unused water each year we inject into the aquifer, some of that we save literally for a non-rainy day.
And put it back into the ground?
Yeah, we did a lot more of that in the past. We don't necessarily do it now, but we have what's called an intentionally created surplus, where we do earmark that water that we don't use for future use. Water banking agreements, our resource planning, a big one is our infrastructure, what we're talking about. And the basis of everything we do here in Southern Nevada is water conservation. There are two pieces of infrastructure, more than anything, that are going to secure our ability to continue to move forward and function as a community. Anybody heard of the third intake? We built a new water intake at Lake Mead. There are two pieces. There's the third intake, and there is a low lake level pumping station. $2.5 million in capital projects that are really absolutely going to secure our future. Before we had two water intakes that brought water to everybody in the valley. And at 1,050 feet, we would have lost the first intake, cutting in half the ability to get water to everybody in the valley. Lake continued to decline at elevation 1,000. We literally would have lost the ability to get water to anybody who lived in Southern Nevada. And so we had the foresight to build an intake that goes up underneath the bottom of the lake bed. It's one of the most complicated construction projects that's ever been done in the state of Nevada, or not state of Nevada, but in the country. So even if lake elevations got to their lowest point, which is elevation 895, and then it's called Deadpool, it's a terrible name. But at that point, that's the lowest.
Great movie though.
Yeah, that's the lowest that it can go. At that point, we don't have the ability to release water downstream to users in California, Arizona, or Mexico. But because of that third intake and our proximity to our water source, we're one of the few communities in the country that lives right on our water source, we now still have the ability to get water to every single person that lives in this valley, no matter how low the lake level is going. So a little bit about the project. It's really incredible. Like I said, it goes 3 miles underneath the bottom of the lake bed. There are concrete rings that line the intake tunnel, 2,400 concrete rings, each of them weighing 32 tons. So this is what we've done to secure our future. Right now, there's a project that's going on called the Low Lake Level Pumping Station, because even as we get water from those really low depths, we still need to have the ability to pump water to get it to our water treatment facilities. The pumps that we are going to use, and actually this will be going into, lake levels are declining so fast that this will be going into use next week. There weren't pumps that existed to pump water from that low. There are 34 submersible pumps. We had to put a bid out for everybody in the world to try and create a pump that went that low to be able to pump water from those depths. Cost $650 million. Does everybody know who paid for these two projects?
We do.
Tax dollars.
Not tax dollars, but we did, in our water bill.
Yeah.
Our water bills increased probably $5 to $7 from the time that we started this project to now. And I'm not sure about you, but $5 to $7 a month is not an extraordinary amount to secure our future. This is the forebay of the low level pumping station that is actually right now completely filled with water. You can see the size and enormity, you see those folks, you see that equipment right there. That is filled with water, and as of next week, because those elevations are now consistently below 1060, this will be put into operation. I mentioned our water banking agreements with the states of Arizona and California. We have 2.1 million acre feet of water stored in those water banks for future use, which is enough for 8 years. We would get more of their Colorado River allocation, but we have earmarked in our water bank enough for those 8 years in agreements that we can access that when we need to.
So Corey, as our growth continues and things keep happening, and volume keeps spreading out and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but still I'll have that enough?
There is not necessarily a one-to-one correlation between growth and the expansion of our water footprint because of development codes that we have in place. Each generation of things that are built are more water efficient than the next. And I'll talk a little bit about why as I continue to move forward. But there really isn't necessarily a correlation between growth and the expansion of our water footprint. And I'll show you exactly why. This is the biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons why. In Southern Nevada, 40% of the water that we use or consume is indoors. 60% is outdoors. Everything that we use indoors here in Southern Nevada is returned, treated to near drinking water standards, and returned to Lake Mead. And for every gallon of water we return to Lake Mead in the Colorado River system, we get to withdraw another gallon of water over and above our allocation. So because of, again, of our proximity to our water source, the fact that we recycle everything that we return to Lake Mead, it's a huge benefit to us. We could go to every single hotel room, every house, turn on every faucet, flush every toilet, and it's not going to deplete from the amount of water that we withdraw from the Colorado River because everything we use indoors is returned. We have development codes that are in place, so if you built a facility just like this right now, you can't have grass outside that consumes water. There's a difference between water use and water consumption. Water use is water that we get to use over and over and over again. Water consumption is water that we only get to use once. And because of those developmental codes, if you built something like this with no grass or no landscaping out in front, it literally doesn't detract from the amount of water that we consume from the Colorado River, that we withdraw from the Colorado River. Our conservation efforts, one of our biggest, or the biggest, and one of the biggest in the world is our Water Smart Landscapes program. We pay folks. Right now it's $3 a square foot to remove grass and replace it with Water Smart Landscapes. Since the program started, we've removed 200 million square feet of grass from here in Southern Nevada. It's enough to take an 18-inch strip of grass and stretch it around the earth 101%. But what does that mean? And what it means is we've saved 152 billion gallons of water since the program started. Another one of the biggest is our mandatory watering restrictions. So it doesn't necessarily seem cumbersome to us because we've been living with it since 2002, but there are specific days and times that we can water here in Southern Nevada. We can't water in the summer, we can't water during the hottest times of the day when all of that water, as soon as it hits whatever your landscaping is gonna be lost to evaporation. You have to water before 11 a.m. or after 7 p.m. In the winter, you can water 6 days, but in the fall and spring, 3 days, and in the winter, only 1 day. And just by doing one thing, when we go from 6 days to 3 days a week, going out and adjusting your sprinkler clock, or when we go from 3 days a week to 1 day a week, every time we do that, it saves our community 25% of the water that we use. And if we can get increased compliance from everybody in the valley, we have the ability to save more water than we would be losing in the shortage declaration. So just adhering to the things that we already have in place, we're going to continue. The same things that got us from 2002 to 2022 are not necessarily the same things that are gonna get us from 2022 to 2052, but this is a big one. This is where the rubber meets the road. Since 2002, our population has increased by 49%. Even with that, our per capita water use is down 48% and our overall consumption is down 26%. I'll illustrate that a little bit later as well. I mentioned that we continue to try and do things and be proactive. One of the things that we're being proactive about is Assembly Bill 356, which passed this past year, where you're no longer gonna be able to water decorative turf, non-functional grass here in Southern Nevada with Colorado River water. This
Why would
grass over here,
Why would you?
why would you be able to water it?
You mean like
Why?
rinse it off,
Yeah, why do people
like for your
water?
pets, or why would someone
Oh,
water?
no, in order for that grass to live, it has to be watered. But this grass that you see right here in this area, it serves no purpose at all. But I have 2 daughters, they play sports. We're not gonna play sports right here in the middle of an intersection. We're not gonna sit there and have a picnic. The only people who step foot on that grass are the people who mow it.
No,
So-
we're asking, why would you
Turf.
water non-functional turf?
Oh,
So it-
that grass exists.
real
That
grass.
grass,
That's real grass.
that grass exists
Oh,
in our
you said,
community.
you
She
said
said-
you're no
yeah, you
longer be
said
able to
turf.
water non-functional.
Oh, I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
turf, no. When I say turf,
Non-functional grass.
it's one of the
Non-functional
things, it's a
grass. Okay.
misconception. When I say
would you do
turf,
that?
when I say turf, I mean grass.
Grass.
But we'll no longer be able to water that grass.
Yeah, no, we get that.
They
We're
should
like,
get rid of it. Office complexes, I mean, on Sunset
HOAs,
Road, there's
and
all
Sunset
that.
Road, exactly.
That
And so-
one office complex that has
But in the
rows
bigger
and
picture,
rows.
does that affect
Hugely.
the atmosphere's ability to create water in just the rain cycle and what you learn in elementary school? Like
What-
the fact that we don't have plants and grass ultimately affects clouds and water creation from the sky, you know, like.
The
from
rain
a
cycle
science
here in Southern Nevada doesn't mean a ton to us. Here,
I just mean in the world, as the world has asphalt and rocks.
we get
does that
more,
affect-
there's, here in Southern Nevada, we have more days of sunshine than just about any other community in the country. Less rainfall than just about any other community in the country. And so in other areas of the country, that grass would be able to be watered with what comes from the atmosphere. In Florida, you don't need to have a sprinkler clock to water that grass because Mother Nature waters it. Mother Nature doesn't give a shit about us here in
I'm
Southern
just
Nevada. Apparently.
I'm just saying overall, 50 years from now, does the universe create less rain because there's more asphalt and rocks on the ground?
Not for us here.
I don't know, I'm not
No.
a scientist, but.
Neither. And so removing that grass by 2027, that grass will have to come out. It will no longer be able to be watered. There are millions of square feet still left. We've taken out a lot, but there's some still left. And we won't be able to water it. We had a 9-member committee that determines what non-functional turf is, and all of that will have to be coming out, saving us millions of gallons of water.
In regards to residential real estate, would that include like the community pet parks and stuff? They would be
There
replaced
are-
with turf?
There are portions, depending on how the committee determined, again, what's functional and what's non-functional. If it is functional, if it is a pet park, it serves a purpose.
Okay.
It serves a function.
Okay, cool.
So that grass won't have to come out, but stuff that's in areas
Golf
that's
courses,
Laws will
non-functional,
get burned.
it will have to come out.
Like the entryway or
Entryway.
tree line with the grass streets.
I got to this slide and all of you said golf courses, golf courses, golf courses.
That would kill us.
So, there's also a policy that's been passed as no new development of golf courses. But while we're talking about golf courses, they've also been one of the biggest benefactors of our Water Smart Landscaping program. Our golf courses have computer programs that show where people play the ball the most. And what they saw is in those areas where people didn't play the ball, they had an opportunity to remove grass, save themselves money, help us out water-wise. And since the start of our Water Smart Landscapes program, golf courses here in Southern Nevada have removed enough grass from those non-playable areas to create another 8 golf courses. So golf courses, they're on water budgets, number one. Those water budgets will probably be decreasing here in the coming years, but they've also been very responsive in removing grass in those non-playable areas. Development codes. Right now, if you build a house or buy a house, you can't have no grass in the front yard. We know that. And only 50% of the backyard, or up to a certain square footage, could be grass. Now we have new development codes that are going in right now where you'll no longer be able to have grass if you're purchasing a new house or building a new house. No more grass in the backyard or on the side of the house. That was passed by our board in December, and the cities will be adopting it here in the coming months. But it's just another way that we're talking about building and growing and developing, but not increasing our water footprint. And this is one of the ways that we're able to do that. Pool size limitations, that's something that's coming. And we're not talking about regular pools that you and I have. We're talking about this. And there are folks that have 3 or 4 moats running through their house and 3 or 4 pools. The average pool size here in Southern Nevada is about 470 square feet. We are going to limit pool size in new development to 600 square feet. So this is only going to affect the top 20 to 25% of homes here in Southern Nevada. But this is also something that we are going to do moving forward to assist with what we're talking about.
What about the hotels? Because I feel like they waste a lot of water.
They do not actually
They
waste a lot of water. They're really efficient. If you look at an area of a hotel, the vast majority of their stuff is concrete, steel, not landscaping, not grass. And the pool that's there, again, it serves a function. There are hundreds and thousands of people that visit that pool on a daily, monthly, weekly basis. It's 115 here in the summer. We need some places to recreate and cool off.
As
So
opposed to
those-
residential where you're using it like twice a year.
So those pools serve a function, and actually, the water that we lose from pools is actually water that's just from the evaporation of the pool.
So, like, I just fixed cracks in my pool and we just did all this stuff, and as we speak, I have 2 hoses filling up my 30-year-old house pool, which is massive compared to current new pools, right? Because it has a diving board and it's 10 feet deep, and so I'm a total violator of.
You're not a violator, your grandfather did.
So we have the hose, right, and I'm on, and no, because this is where it's bad, I am, because we're on septic, not on city sewer. So all the water I dump out from my house and the rental next door, which I'm also dumping because the water's not good, holding chemicals because it's been too long, is just going to waste.
Yeah, you're a jerk.
We
gotta get you off septic, but you're right, when you're draining your pool, it's not going into the sanitary sewer where.
So I should really be putting it into my toilet.
Where it
And
gets
then just
returned.
flushing the toilet so
No,
it
because
goes
that goes
down.
into your septic.
Oh, exactly,
So
right.
you can't do
Well-
So I'm screwed.
We're working to get folks like you off of septic and into the sewer system and, on
So
to the.
I'm in the same situation with her, and I asked about, will I ever have my neighborhood turn to, sewage? They said, no, costs too much.
I have a question about Pahrump. I have a client who's buying land in Pahrump, and they said they have to get septic. Why is that? Why can't they get water rights out to Pahrump since Pahrump's expanding so much?
I'm not certain.
Okay.
Well, probably because they don't have access to the city lines. It's very expensive. So
Well,
when
is
you
it
guys,
Pahrump eventually gonna be like built out like Vegas? So should they put a
Eventually.
plan in place for Pahrump?
Not necessarily. Well, I mean, we can see, I can get you an answer if there's a specific area of Pahrump that I can find out about. But
Yeah.
I don't.
Don't the builders usually do it when they build new homes? They bring the water and.
They're in charge of
Yeah.
the infrastructure,
Right.
and so we need to make sure that the infrastructure is available. There's more that we're doing in order to have the ability to have that water go back to the sanitary sewer here in Southern Nevada. So it just
I like
depends
to
on the
say that
development.
I do have,
was
I do
kidding.
have
I was
landscape
kidding.
desert landscape, because 20 years ago, we took out all of our grass and we put in turf.
There you go.
So to counterbalance our wastefulness.
But back to
large-
my comment,
I'll try and
they-
get to it as soon as we're
The
done,
sewage,
as soon as
yeah.
we're done, and
Okay.
I'll answer as many questions as I can.
thank you.
You're welcome, no problem. A large water user policy, will adjust the tiers. We have conservation pricing built into our tiers. Folks with the smallest meters can use the least amount of water, and folks with large meters can use more water in that first or second tier. We're gonna adjust those tiers so the largest water users will be paying as much as the small metered users, to deter that large water use. We see that top 100 water users that comes out every year. We are going to do more to have them subsidize or help subsidize by building in that conservation pricing in the tiers that exist. All of these, this is called a step down chart. Each of these things are things that we are doing over the course of the next year to several years to reduce water use. Current per capita water use is somewhere between 121 and 118 gallons per capita per day. And our goal by 2035 is 85 gallons per capita per person per day. And each of these steps are steps that we have in place currently, or as we move forward to reduce that water use. Talk a little bit about what we've done in the past. There's a couple of things. This is the most important slide in the entire thing. So since 2002, even with a population increase of 745,000, last year we used 27 billion gallons less water than we did in 2002, with 745,000 new residents. So everybody in this room deserves a pat on the back, because that's something that we. That's the
No
first.
thanks to me, but yes.
The first reason that's an important slide. The second is I'm contractually obligated to show this slide for the next 3 or 4 years. That's my daughter in the middle. She said she's be part of this presentation until she graduates from high school. She's a freshman right now. So I have 3 more years of this contract.
You just
But-
want the tax write-off.
But that's hugely important. I mean, 745,000 new residents, it's actually 750. 40 million annual visitors, and we used 27 billion gallons of water last year, less than we did in 2002.
That's huge.
So we need to continue to be a leader in water conservation. One of the things that each of us can do is report water waste when we see it. There's an app on your phone. If you live in the Las Vegas Valley Water District, you can download the app. And I think it's similar in North Las Vegas and Henderson. If you see water waste, you can take a picture of it. The geolocation on your phone will actually tell us where the meter is that you see water waste coming from, and we'll go out and investigate it. And the goal isn't to be punitive. It's not to be punitive. It's initially to create a conversation.
I've seen that in my friend's apartment, like the thing is messed up and it's going right into the street, the
Yep.
sprinkler, for like the whole day.
Oh, shoot.
My daughter and I returned from a volleyball trip, it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We pulled up from the volleyball trip, and my daughter said yellow flag that's sitting in our front yard. I said, shoot, I actually said the other, I actually said the SH word. That means that we've been wasting water. What had happened was one of my emitters was broken while we were gone over the weekend and was spewing out water into the street.
On Sunday?
And not on a Sunday. We never water on Sunday. But I had no idea. And a lot of people have no idea that these things are taking place because we water late at night or early in the morning. You don't necessarily know. And so what we'll do is we'll notify the property owner that this is occurring on your property. We'll give you a couple weeks to fix it. And then we'll come back at that same time a couple weeks later. And if it's not fixed, we'll issue an $80 fine. And then we'll come back a week later. And if it's not fixed, we'll issue a $160 fine. Then a week later, it's a $320 fine, then $640, then $1,280. But initially, it's to create communication between people at the property and Las Vegas Valley Water District or wherever it's taking place to give them an opportunity to fix this for the benefit of our
Does
community.
that work for businesses too?
Yes, it does.
So one of your neighbors turned you in?
No, actually, we patrol most neighborhoods in the city on random days. You'll just see you'll see this car driving through an or somebody turned me in. I don't know. I works for the water district and his stuff is spewing out of the street. So possible. But we patrol just about every neighborhood in the city to make sure that if we see water flowing on the property or anything, we have the ability to try and fix it, rectify what's going on. So, there are 3 things that everybody in this room can do. If you live in an HOA or a community where you see ornamental or non-functional turf, you can speak to your HOA about removing that. Each of us can go to the garage, make sure we're adhering to those mandatory watering restrictions specific to day of the week and time of the month. And we can all, like he just said, we can all squeal on our neighbors. We can let folks know when there's an issue, and again, we'll come out and talk to them, and it's not to be punitive, but to create communication. And so, that's it. You guys are free, you're out of here, I'm done. You're tough.
I know. Isn't Lake Powell part of the Colorado water system?
It is. Lake Powell is the reservoir for the upper basin, just the same way that Lake Mead is the reservoir from the lower basin. They are experiencing it, and it's every bit as tough as what we're experiencing. And so there's an agreement that's about to come in place, or a letter that has to be sent from the Colorado River Basin to the Bureau of Reclamation that will have to be done in the next couple of weeks, I believe, that talks about how Lake Powell is going to handle their situation. The 2 river systems work in tandem. They release water upstream from Powell every single year to us here in Southern Nevada and Lake Mead. And right now they're talking about releasing less water. We usually get about 7.4 million acre feet, and they want to reduce that to now 7 million acre feet. Again, those 2 river systems work in tandem with one another. But again, it's not an us versus them mentality. It's not urban versus agriculture.
Sorry, we're so sorry to interrupt.
Versus California.
But we have a birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mark. Make a wish.
You got camera going?
We're not supposed to blow on cakes anymore.
I'm just